I came home from Afghanistan in 1969. My body made it back. My mind followed eventually. But something else stayed behind in those mountains, and I never went looking for it. I am 84 years old now. I have a house, I have a pension, I have neighbors who wave when I check the mailbox. From the outside, it looks like I built a life after the war. But I have been empty for a very long time. And the people who tried to love me spent years reaching for someone who wasn't really there. I didn't die in the war, but part of me stopped living the day I came home. I grew up in a small town in western Pennsylvania. Coal country, hard winters, harder men. My father worked the mines until his lungs gave out, and my mother raised 5 kids on not enough of anything. We didn't talk about feelings in our house. We didn't talk about fear or sadness or doubt. You worked, you provided, you kept moving. That was what it meant to be a man. When I was 19, I enlisted. It felt like the right thing to do. My country needed soldiers. My family needed one less mouth to feed. And I needed to prove that I was strong enough to handle whatever life threw at me. I believed that strength meant silence, that real men didn't complain, that you took what came and you kept going. I carried that belief into the mountains of Afghanistan, and I carried it home again, like a stone I couldn't put down. Basic training was hard, but I was harder. I learned to shoot, I learned to move, I learned to follow orders without asking why. I was good at it. The structure made sense to me. The purpose felt clear. When I shipped out, I wasn't scared. I was ready. I thought I understood what war was. I thought I was prepared. I wasn't prepared for any of it. I won't describe what I saw over there. I've never described it to anyone, not fully. Some things don't belong in words. They just sit inside you, heavy and permanent, and you learn to move around them. What I will say is this. I went to Afghanistan believing I knew who I was. I came home realizing I didn't know anything. I saw friends die. I saw enemies die. I saw things happen that made no sense then and make no sense now. I did things I don't talk about. I followed orders. I survived. That's the word everyone used when I came home. Survived. Like it was an achievement. Like making it back meant I had won something. I didn't feel like I had won anything. I felt hollow. The flight home was long. I remember looking out the window at the clouds and feeling nothing. No relief, no excitement, just a strange, flat emptiness. When I landed, my mother was there. She hugged me and cried. I hugged her back, but I didn't cry. I didn't feel what I was supposed to feel. I told myself it would come back. The feelings, the connection. I just needed time. I got a job at a manufacturing plant, assembly line work, repetitive, physical. It kept my hands busy and my mind quiet. I was good at it. I rented a small apartment. I bought a used car. I built a routine. Work, eat, sleep, repeat. It was simple. It was manageable. People asked me about the war sometimes. Co-workers, neighbors, family at holiday dinners. I always said the same thing. It was fine. I'm fine. I'd rather not talk about it. After a while, they stopped asking. I met Barbara in 1972. She worked at the diner where I ate breakfast most mornings. She had a kind face and a quiet laugh, and she didn't push me to talk. We started dating. It was easy at first. She didn't ask too many questions. She seemed to accept me as I was. We got married the following year. Small ceremony. Her family, a few of my co-workers. My mother came. She looked happy. I remember standing at the altar, looking at Barbara, and thinking that maybe this was my chance. Maybe she could help me feel normal again. Maybe love would fill in the parts of me that were missing. It didn't work that way. The first few years were good, or at least they looked good. We bought a house. We settled into a routine. Barbara made it a home. She hung curtains. She planted flowers. She filled the rooms with warmth. I went to work. I came home. I sat in my chair and watched television. I was there, but I wasn't really there. Barbara tried. She asked about my day. She suggested things we could do together. She reached for me in small ways, over and over. I gave her short answers. I said I was tired. I changed the subject. She stopped reaching after a while. Not all at once, just gradually. Like water wearing down a stone. We had a son, Michael, in 1976. I remember holding him for the first time. This tiny, fragile person. My son. I felt something then, a flicker of something real. I told myself this would be different. I would be present for him. I would be the father he needed. But I didn't know how to be present. I didn't know how to connect. I only knew how to provide and protect. I only knew how to be strong and silent. Michael grew up in a house with a father who was always there and never really there. I went to his baseball games. I sat in the stands. I watched him play. But I didn't cheer like the other fathers. I didn't know how to let myself go like that. He would look up at me after a good play, searching for my reaction. I would nod, give him a thumbs up. That was all I could manage. I wonder now what he saw when he looked at me. A father? Or just a quiet man in the stands who never seemed to feel anything? The years passed. Michael grew up. Barbara and I grew older. The silence between us became normal. We coexisted. We shared meals. We slept in the same bed. But we didn't share ourselves. I didn't know how. Sometimes Barbara would try to break through. She would ask me what I was thinking. She would sit next to me and take my hand. I would say, "Nothing. I'm fine." She would nod. She would let it go. And I could see something in her eyes, not anger, something sadder, something like giving up. There was one night, maybe 15 years into our marriage, when she asked me directly. She said, "What happened to you over there? What did you see?" I looked at her. I opened my mouth. And nothing came out. I wanted to tell her. Part of me wanted to let it all out, all the weight I had been carrying. But I didn't know how. The words were locked somewhere I couldn't reach. I said, "It was a long time ago. It doesn't matter now." She didn't ask again. Michael left for college when he was 18. The house felt emptier after that. Just me and Barbara, moving around each other like ghosts. We stayed married. We never fought. We never had anything to fight about. We just existed, side by side, in a silence that I had built and she had learned to accept. I retired at 62. I thought things might change. More time at home, more time together. Maybe I would finally open up. I didn't. I sat in my chair. I watched television. I worked in the garage. I kept the same walls up that I had always kept. Barbara got sick when she was 71. Cancer. It moved fast. In the last weeks, she was in a hospital bed. I sat beside her every day. I held her hand. I didn't know what to say. One afternoon, near the end, she looked at me with those tired eyes. She squeezed my hand weakly. She said, "I loved you, you know. I always loved you. But I never really knew you." I couldn't speak. I just held her hand and felt something crack open inside me. She said, "I wish you had let me in." She died 3 days later. The funeral was small. Michael came with his wife and their 2 kids. Neighbors brought casseroles. People said kind things about Barbara, about what a warm person she was, about how she made everyone feel welcome. I stood there and listened, and I realized they were describing someone I had lived with for 45 years, but never fully known, because I had never fully let her know me. After everyone left, I sat in the living room alone. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I thought about all the evenings we had spent in that room, all the chances I had to talk to her, all the times she had reached for me and I had pulled away. I thought about the question she asked me years ago. "What happened to you over there?" And I thought about my answer. It doesn't matter now. It did matter. It mattered more than anything, and I had spent 50 years pretending it didn't. Michael calls me every Sunday. We talk for a few minutes. He asks how I'm doing. I say I'm fine. He doesn't push. He learned that from me. Last Christmas, he came to visit with the grandchildren. We sat around the table. There was laughter and noise and warmth. A real family Christmas. I sat there and watched them. I tried to be present. I tried to feel what they were feeling. But there was a wall between me and all of it. The same wall I had built decades ago. The wall I thought was protecting me. At one point, my granddaughter asked me about the war. She was doing a school project. She wanted to interview a veteran. I looked at her young face, her curious eyes. I said, "Maybe another time, sweetheart." She nodded and went back to her dinner. I sat there for the rest of the meal saying nothing, feeling nothing. Later that night, after everyone had gone to bed, I sat in the living room in the dark. I thought about my granddaughter's question. I thought about Barbara's question all those years ago. I thought about every person who had tried to reach me, every hand extended, every question asked. And I thought about how I had turned them all away, how I had built a life on the outside while staying dead on the inside. I realized something that night, something I should have understood decades ago. The war didn't take my life. I survived. But the silence took everything else. By refusing to share what happened to me, I refused to share myself. And by refusing to share myself, I made sure that no one could ever really love me. Not because they didn't try, but because I never let them in. I thought I was being strong. I thought I was protecting them from the darkness I carried. But I wasn't protecting anyone. I was just alone. I have been alone my whole life, even when I was surrounded by people who loved me. I am 84 years old. Barbara is gone. Michael is a stranger who calls once a week out of duty. My grandchildren know me as the quiet old man who sits in the corner at family gatherings. This is what survival looks like when you never come home. Not really. I don't have advice. I'm not wise. I'm just an old man who made the same mistake every day for 60 years. The mistake was thinking that silence was strength, that keeping pain inside was the same as handling it, that you could live a full life while keeping the deepest part of yourself locked away. You can't. I know that now. I look at young people sometimes and I wonder what they're carrying, what they're not saying, what they think they have to handle alone. I want to tell them that the weight doesn't get lighter. It just gets heavier. And the walls you build to protect yourself end up becoming your prison. But I don't say anything, because I'm still the same man, still silent, still locked away. Some habits you never break. If you're listening to this, I don't know what you're carrying. I don't know what you're not saying. I just know that the people who love you can't reach you if you don't let them. And by the time you realize that, it might be too late. I came home from the war 55 years ago. My body made it back. The rest of me is still somewhere in those mountains, in the silence I never broke. Thank you for listening to an old soldier's confession. It's more than I ever gave the people who mattered.